Hi there. Today I want to show you some tips for creating a timeline in Google Slides. There are a lot of ways to do it, but I think the easiest way to do it is using shapes and using text. And so I'm going to show you some of the tips that I do for creating a timeline. In front of me I have a blank slide. It's the standard size. I haven't changed the size, but you can. And I want to put in a title, so I'm going to use my text tool to create a title. My 2020. Now you can do, you can use word art, you can use a lot of different things, but I'm going to make it an interesting looking font and a nice size. And I'm going to keep it up in the center. Now later I might want to make it look different, but for right now that's good. Now, of course, when you have a timeline, you need a place that marks time. And a lot of time you see that as an arrow. And I like to use the shape tool. There's a whole section of arrows, and we're going to use a double-sided arrow because time starts, goes a long way back and it's going to keep moving forward, so I want a double-sided arrow. So I chose that, and I have my my little crosshairs. I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to draw an arrow that goes all the way across my page. I can resize it to whatever size. I can make it skinnier or thicker. I actually kind of want it to be pretty thin. It's going to default to a gray color or a blue color. You use the paint bucket tool called fill color to change the color. I don't know, let's do a nice blue. You can use the pencil tool, also known as border color, to change the border or to make the border transparent if you don't want it to have a border. And there's my timeline. Now timelines stretch all the way across, but they also have points. And so I'm going to create a point on my timeline for every month of the year. So again, I'm going to use shapes, and I'm going to use a circle. You know, draw a circle. If you want the circle, it can be ovally, but we don't really want that. So here's my hint. When you do your circle, hold down the shift key while you drag and drop your shape, and it's going to keep it as a circle. All right, and I think I want these circles to be red, and you can have a black outline. We can make it a pretty thick black outline. And I'm going to have these across my shape. Now obviously that's a little too big, so I'm going to make it the size that I want it to be, maybe a wee bit smaller. Again, if I was holding the shift key, it would stay very, very steady shape. My shape is more oval now. But once I have it the size that I want it to be, I could go through and do all of those steps again and again and again, which will get repetitive, and the likelihood is they're not going to be consistently the same. So I'm just going to duplicate this shape. I'm going to click on it, and if you right click or two finger click, you're going to see an option, maybe, to duplicate. No, we have copy and paste. The shortcut for duplicate is Command D, and you just get another one. If that's on a Mac, it's Command D. On a Chromebook, I think it's Option D or Control D. It's Control D. So I'm just going to duplicate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because I need 12 dots. And I'm going to place them on my timeline accordingly. Now it's going to take a second to place all these dots out. And you can see these little lines, these little red and blue lines. They kind of give you some distance measurements. They help you to place things equidistant apart from each other. And maybe one here. All right, that's not perfectly spaced, but it's good enough. Now, there's a chance I'm going to have to move these dots or move this timeline around, and I don't want to have to move 13 different shapes every time. So it's really, really important to group the shapes together so that when you move one, all of the shapes go together. So I'm going to click and hold and select them all, and then I'm going to go Arrange Group, okay? And it gives you the shortcut if you want to do a keyboard shortcut. So now those shapes are all together in one group, and when I move them, they all move together. Now, for a timeline, it's okay to have it in the middle or hovering at the top, and then all your information would hover underneath, or at the bottom and all your information would hover above. I tend to like it where it's a little bit low and the information would be above. So that's what I would recommend. You can put text inside of a shape. So I double clicked on the first shape, and I'm going to put the number 1 for January, number 2 for February, and each one of these is going to represent a month. Now you might be doing years on your timeline, so you could type in years as you go through, or whatever you need to do to mark time on your timeline. 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now I could go through and do some more formatting on that so it looks better, but I'm not going to take the time to do that right now. All right, now information. It's important that you put information in your timeline. Again, I would suggest that you use shapes, and I will tell you why in just a minute. It has to do with how we connect it. So I'm going to use a shape. I'm going to just maybe use a rounded rectangle and drop it here, and I can do the same thing. I can give it a different color, an outline, and that's going to be my first shape. And I can double click and type right in it. You don't have to put another text box. When you double click, a cursor shows up, and it's going to by default be on the left and in the center. If you want it to be at the top or if you want it to be centered, you can change those things by going over here to the alignment. You can put it centered and you can put it at the top of the box. Okay, so you can change your alignment. So in March, I went to key to the Keys on spring break. Okay, so that was a highlight of March, and I can put some identifying features. I can say that was March. I don't know why. Oh, because of the dash. Let's get rid of that dash. Okay, so in March, I went to the Keys on spring break. All right, now I want to make this shape line up with March. I need to have a line. So I'm going to use my line tool, select line, and I'm just going to use regular line. Now I have my little crosshairs cursor. When I bring my crosshair close to my shape, you see those little purple dots line up. Same thing happens down here. Look at all of those purple dots. I don't really know what those are called, but I like to call them magnets because you can connect, when you connect a line and you start a line on one purple dot and you end it on another purple dot, it's like a magnet. So wherever you move, the line will move with it. And that's pretty important when you're doing a timeline. So I'm going to put my crosshair right on a purple dot, click and hold, come down and connect it to another purple dot. And I can make my line thicker. If I want it to be thicker, I can change the color of the line to match my shape if I want to. Okay, now when I go to move this, the line moves with it, which is fantastic because you're probably going to have to move this information around to get everything to fit. Okay, so that's pretty important. And I want to add a picture of my trip to the Keys, so I'm going to insert image. You can search the web. I happen to have some pictures in my drive that I want to include. Here's a picture of me and my husband at the Keys, and it's going to be pretty big. Way too big for what I need. So as soon as it shows up, boom, 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 coming in slow. I can resize this to make it work, and I can rotate it too. This little handle, the circle handle here, will help it rotate. These square ones can make it smaller. So let me rotate it where he and I are more upright. That looks nice. And right now, if I move it, it's going to be on top of I want it to look like they're together, but I don't really want it on top. I want the picture behind the bubble. So with the picture highlighted, I click the picture, and then I'm going to go to Arrange, Order, Send Backwards. And I may have to do that more than once. I can also go send to back, but I didn't have to. I can just keep going send backwards and it'll keep popping back. And then my picture and my little information bubble are together. Now I can also group my picture and my information bubble together, arrange, group, and now when I move this, I move them all together and the line moves because I made it like a magnet. All right, so those are some interesting things that you can do to create a timeline. I hope that's helpful for you as you move forward in your project that you're working on. If you have questions, feel free to reach out.